Oh, this is a good one. Middle of the winter, it was the Cold War. So if you're too young to know what the Cold War is, I encourage you to Google that because it's an important thing in world history. The Berlin Wall was still up. Americans were not allowed into East Germany or the Eastern Bloc countries, but because it was a tour and blah, 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 they got me a special passport. I was able to go. But they made sure a KGB agent was at my side constantly, even when I went to the bathroom. Like, I don't know what secrets they thought I had. You know, how to sew point shoes differently. So we're in Dresden. So in history, Dresden had been firebombed. And it was called Kristallnacht. So you get to Google that too. And most of the town was still destroyed. And the people there were close to starvation still. To say poor is not it. I mean, they were a rag on top of a rag. They looked like homeless people here, but that was just the normal existence. And they didn't have electricity after 8 p.m. at night, you know, all this stuff. Really, really bad. And most of the buildings didn't have heat. And they didn't have water all day. You could have water for 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening. And that's how this whole city is living, okay? And here we are arriving in a beautiful heated bus. And we go into the theater, and the theater hadn't been used in decades. Thick dust everywhere. You thought you were walking into the Munsters home or something, you know, or the Addams family home. And the big front doors wouldn't close. So the cold wind from outside, and oh yes, of course it was snowing, is just coming in. And when we finally got ready, and so we're going to do Allegro Brilliant, okay? And the floor, we laid down our Marley. It kind of froze, sort of. So it's like really slippery. And we were saying, we're not dancing, we're taking off our point shoes. And the director said, you have to do something. These people have not seen anything for decades and they're starving. So even if you can't do the step, get on your point shoes at least once. At least show them that. Because we didn't understand how desperately, how deprived these people had been for so long. It's like it didn't get us. We were still thinking like dancers instead of like humans. Yeah, the humanistic part had disappeared. We were just worried about, I need rosin, you know, things like that. So if you know that ballet, the music starts before the curtain comes up. And then the curtain raises very slowly and you see the feet going around. And then the curtain rises and opens. And you start this little circle step of 4 couples. But the curtain was already blowing up all the time because the cold wind from outside kept blowing in. So like from the knee down, nobody felt anything. Nobody felt anything. And then when the curtain rose, the people in the audience got so excited. And they're, okay, we're in chiffon, right? They got so excited and they didn't know how to turn off the house lights. So we saw everyone in the audience and the faces were dark and dirty and they were so poor and so deprived. They started jumping up and they're crying and they're like, because. So we start crying. They're crying. We can't hardly dance. We try to dance, you know, the people start coming up on the stage. They came down and they started climbing up on the stage. They were on their knees in front of us and reaching up to us, trying to touch our dresses. Okay.
Wow.
That was something to remember. Something to remember. And the lead couple, all they were able to do was soutenu and finger pirouettes because he was just so, and he lifted her a couple of times on a shoulder sit, you know, and everybody was happy. So that was a very special memory of dancing in Dresden. But as you can see, it still gets to me to think of those people. Oh boy, then there was, oh my goodness, we left Naples. We had danced in the castle and we're traveling back to Rome and it's in the middle of the night and our driver's going like way too fast in one of these fancy French Citroën. It's like a car that's kind of like a hydrofoil. You have to wait for it to lift up and then it goes like 120 miles an hour, just like that. And we're zipping down the highway. And in Italy, you can go as fast as you want. And people do because they enjoy their fast cars. And suddenly here's all these sirens and everything, and we get pulled over. And everybody has rifles and machine guns. And they put us up against the car, and without asking questions, we all had handcuffs on because they thought I was a terrorist with the Red Brigade, which in that era was Il Brigate Rosso, was a group of terrorists, a small group, who one of the people was blonde with long white, very long hair, and we were driving down the road, and I had my hair hanging out the window. And we kept saying, no, 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 Scala, Scala, La Scala. And these policemen, the Carabinieri, which is like they shoot first and ask later, they didn't even know what that was. And I'm like, how can they not know what La Scala is? That's like, how do you not know what the Statue of Liberty is? La Scala in Italy is like the Statue of Liberty. And so they finally called in on their walkie-talkies and found out, oh yeah, they really are who they say they are. Okay, so they let us go. But I was going to pee. I was standing there in handcuffs, and I thought, what would my mom think now? Here I am. Turned out to be nothing, but there was like 15 minutes of. So that kind of put a damper on. We had been discussing how the performance went, and so this kind of changed your mind about what we were doing. Watching the sunrise while standing in the Acropolis in Greece, right after having danced Balanchine's Apollo the previous night. And I had used my little Brownie Instamatic camera to take a picture to send back to SAB, because Diana Adams, who was a wife of Balanchine and who was directing SAB at that time, told me I'd never be a soloist, I'd never be a classical dancer, even though I'm on scholarship there. So what did they take me there for? I don't know. And that I would never dance as a soloist in Mr. B's ballets. So this was like, when was that, 1968? And this was 1976. So I sent that little Polaroid, not a Polaroid, Instamatic picture, which means I had to wait 8 weeks to get it developed. I sent that back to her and said, really? That was a happy moment. So that means don't let anybody tell you can't do something. Ever. You go ahead and push and see what you can do. Someone says you're not good enough, that's not right, you're too tall, you're too skinny, you're too this, you're too that, you're not turned out enough, Just, you go ahead and do what you want to do. Don't let that slow you down. Oh, dancing both lead roles in Anthony Tudor's Lilac Garden and being coached by him. When I graduated Juilliard, he said, well, I guess you want to know what I'm going to let you dance, because I was an apprentice at ABT at the same time. And I said, well, I really want to do Lilac Garden. And he said, oh, no, you got to wait 10 years for that. Exactly 10 years. I called him on the phone from overseas, and I said, Mr. Tudor, it's been 10 years. And he laughed, and he said, well, okay, where are you? I said, well, I'm in La Scala. He said, oh, well, okay. So we traveled to New York, learned the ballet with him, and then went back. So that was a big deal. And then Alvin Ailey created a piece for me. And at that time, then that became the biggest, like, oh my God, this guy's like a god. Oh, and he's right there in front of me, and he's saying, lay out. And I'm like, this hurts, T, penché flip. And I'm like, what? But no, he was wonderful, wonderful. I had to do an off-Broadway show. Schwer zu sein Yid, hard to be a Jew. I'm not Jewish. I don't know anything about the Jewish culture or religion. And suddenly I'm having to sing, dance, and act in Yiddish. Yiddish. I never knew what I was saying. I just read it off the paper and learned it. And I had my cheat sheet on stage laying on the table where we're supposed to be doing this like a drinking song. And I'm reading the words as I'm singing. But that was like 8 shows a week, and that was killing me. So after 3 months, I left the show. They probably didn't miss me at all because, oh well. Oh, then working with the Olympics. I worked for the International Olympic Committee as choreographer trainer for the Italian ice dance couple. And that was amazing because, first of all, they're comfortable in the cold and I'm not. The cold just kills me. Why did I ever leave Texas? I don't know.
Yeah.
And even though they gave me stuff to cover me up a whole bunch, still, you're in the ice rink for hours and hours and hours. And the ice dancers have to work from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. And then the hockey comes in. They get the good hours during the day, but the ice dancers work through the night. So that wasn't fun. That kind of messes up your biorhythms. Still, though, that was quite a thing. Oh, I got to dance the lead in Pulcinella in Venice, live for Carnival in Venice. That was live on Eurovision. So Eurovision means not just the country you're in. It's a TV channel that like does all of Europe. And that was nice. And then that theater burned down. So yeah, that was sad. But I got to do that before it burned down. And then I got to stand on a really crumbling medieval wall in Tunisia, which is in the north of Africa, because Vogue Italy was going to do some pictures and some little article about me, which they never did. It got bumped out because, other things were much more important. Who cares about dancers? Get Madonna on the cover, right? Yeah. But I did get to do that. And thank goodness I didn't fall off the wall. But that was something. Oh, here's another question. When did you start teaching? I was 12. And they couldn't make me be still. As you've noticed, it's difficult for me to be still. And it's true, isn't it? The arts teacher said to my mother, we just need to give her more to do. And my mother came up with the idea, and the teacher said, oh, she can't do that. And my mother said, you'd be surprised. So there I am at 12, staging everything. The piano needs to be over here, and these are the little songs we are going to sing, like Springtime is Here, la-di-da. And here the little kids are going to dance. And so my mother made us these sweet little green elf costumes. And we did a little 3-minute dance. So I got to sort of, at 12, I'm telling the adults, no, I want it over there. That's just disgusting. Because I'm not like that now. But yeah. Yeah, when I was 12. And then, and that school is here in Dallas, Martha T. Riley Elementary. It's right over there in Lockwood, close to, well, it's not that close to Garland Road. Closer to Jupiter, sort of. Over on the other side of Northwest Highway. And when I was 15, I think, I have no idea how I got there, but I was teaching probably as a sub at some Montessori school here in Dallas, sort of ballet. And they were really into, at that time, just letting everybody run wild. But I'd been taking ballet, and I was like, you're going to stand in line, and you're going to be quiet, and you're going to do what I say. So it was fun, though. Yeah. I probably terrorized the children, but I had a good time. But, I love teaching because it lets me connect with people in a very deep way. And people look into your eyes and you see them move, and you really get to see what's inside of that person. And it's such a wonderful connection there, that humanistic connection. And I love doing, when you see somebody who's been struggling with something, I don't care what it is, and when they get it, and you see their face light up, whether it's a child who finally figured out the left foot from the right foot, it's very exciting. And then they look at the teacher like, this is the left now. And you go, I know. And then I love, especially with children, hearing the stories they tell you, the things they come up with. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's like everyday life is extraordinary when I'm teaching, because it's always different, and it's always enriching me somehow. And I get to really be with people. And especially since COVID tore everything up, it's so nice to be back with real people. And I really feel that dance is one of the very last things on earth that you actually do, rather than what you think. You do it with your body. Like guys who build houses and they're hitting that nail. You're doing it with your body. So there's a real connection from your body out into the world. And that can never be taken away. Never. And COVID proved that. People just kept dancing in their homes. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna kill this virus. We're gonna do this. We're not gonna stop. Yeah. And people doing bar at their kitchen sink in their PJs. And I'm like, you go, girl. That was a great time. My classes, who are they for? Anybody. Well, the adult classes are for anybody over age 18. Whether you've danced or not, whether you think you like it or not. You got to just come, just show up and see what happens and be surprised and just allow something to happen. Anthony Tudor used to say this magnificent thing. Oh, Deborah, he'd be smoking a cigarette backwards. He always smoked his cigarettes backwards. He usually had two going at the same time. Yeah. Back when you could smoke cigarettes. Isn't that horrible? And this guy, he'd lean back and go against the bar like this, go, that'll never do. That'll never do. Why are you trying to make yourself dance? What do you think you're doing? Can you let yourself dance? Can you allow yourself to dance? He could get really nasty, but that was nothing compared to, he was famous for saying nasty things, but it really made you think, oh, can I just let myself dance? What am I trying to make happen here? It's already in there. He would say it's already in you, so just allow it to go ahead and come out. Interesting concept. So the benefits of that for adults are, or for anyone really, but particularly for adults. You see, from birth to a certain age, your brain works one way. And if you're a parent, you know this. The child just absorbs and they're not processing. They just absorb. They're building their base. At a certain age, the brain flips and you start using the other side of the brain. See, because I studied the neurology a lot. And the so-called adult brain won't make a move until they have understood everything first. And then when they've understood it, and if they think it's safe, then they'll try it. So dance gives the adult person the possibility of returning to using the other side of the brain, being more like a child, allowing yourself to just try things and fall over, which is so refreshing and so healing on so many levels. And that's something that as we grow older, it gets lost. And that's part of why people's bodies stiffen up. And then their brain stiffens up. Yeah, calcifies because they stop moving. So if you keep moving your body, your brain keeps moving. And I proved that with my mom, who died at the age of 92. Yeah. And I wouldn't let her go to a hospital at all. We stayed home. We did ballet. We did singing. She did floor bar, but she did it on the bed, because she couldn't get down on the floor. And singing and dancing together in the backyard and moving the arms all the time and laughing and getting her to talk about all kinds of stuff. And I would let her read books to me, like when I was a child, except she was reading Sherlock Holmes. And I'd say, Mother, don't tell me the end of the story. She said, oh, but you don't remember. I said, yes, I do. Don't tell me the end. Read the story. So I kept her very, very engaged so that even though her dementia was horrific and she had a couple of other diseases as well, when she died, she knew exactly who she was. Completely lucid. And she said, I'm dying, aren't I? And I said, uh-huh. She said, yeah, probably be in about 3 or 4 days. I said, yeah, that's what they say. She's, okay. But she, yeah, really like that. And she said, open the window. I want to see the clouds. Show is so cool. So dance does that for people. It gives them another life. It rejuvenates them. It frees them from all kinds of inner mental turmoil that they have built up over the years, because thoughts are things and they don't go away. They just stay in your body. Ooh, think of that. All that trash, you got to empty that out. Yeah. So that's what the dance does. And I would say, if you're coming, the main thing I want to say to people is just get started. Take the first step. And don't think about it too much. Don't process too much. Then take another step. Come back again. Like taste that food again. See if How can you do that? Because my final thought would be, but not just about dance, about life, just be happy. Just let it go. Don't worry about so much stuff. Don't worry about perfectionism or what other people think of you or what it's supposed to look like or what does success look like. I have to be a success. No, you don't. This has to be perfect. No, it doesn't. you know, just be less doing, more being. So you allow yourself to be a dancer just by moving. In fact, everybody's a dancer just because they're moving around. But you do having the help and the encouragement of being with other people in a room doing something slightly, at least slightly codified. It's very, very freeing. There's an enormous ocean inside of yourself that you don't realize it's there. It's like the underneath side of an iceberg. And it doesn't start to melt and come out until you start moving. Hello. I said moving. So that means dance. That's all I have to say.